wolf population in the continental United States, and 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected. Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf. Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy. As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired. Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
Navigating COVID while protecting yourself can be difficult. Fortunately, there's a hotline you can call with any questions. The Department of Indian Work St. Paul partnered with the Minnesota Department of Health to open the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline. They provide information on vaccines, booster shots, and testing sites. Right now, booster shots are available to anyone over the age of 18 for those who are eligible. The Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline can also help with housing, food, medical, and educational support. If you or someone you know has questions about COVID-19, vaccinations, booster shots, or testing, please call 651-304-9986. Again, the number is 651-304-9986. The Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline is open for calls Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Call the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline at 651-304-9986.
Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in four directions. This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. I'm here to ask you for your support. Finding honest Native-centered news is not easy. But with your support, we're able to provide accurate information about Standing Rock, Line 3, treaty violations, and COVID-19 in our Native communities. Please visit Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon and donate if you can. That's Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Pinigigi, and thank you for your support.
Hey, Ogama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for cloudy skies tonight with a low around 63. Saturday, a chance for showers and storms with a high near 78. And Sunday, partly cloudy with a high near 80. Make sure you're ready to keep your home cool before those inevitable hot, humid summer days with Standard Heating and Air Conditioning. Right now with Standard, you can get instant savings of $850 on an AC unit or ductless system with payments as low as $65 per month. Learn more at standardheating.com.
Portions of Native Roots Radio may be pre-recorded.
It's a good day to be indigenous.
Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Couldn't cut, hit me cut again.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake.
Welcome to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hade. Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in four directions. You are listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot. That's my colonized name, Wendy, and we discuss local and national Twin City Native news and events. And as we all know, Native issues are human issues and human issues are Native issues.
This portion of the show is brought to you by Native Roots Trading Post. We're having a really special event, Robert, on Thursday, June 16th from 3 to 5:30 p.m. It's called Music for the Movement. We're located at 700 Nicollet Mall on the first floor of the Dayton's building. And what this is the donations that you give will help the defendants facing charges for standing against construction of the Line 3 tar sands oil pipeline. We need to help these people get out of jail.
Yeah, there'll be fry bread and food there. Music.
Yep.
Owen and those guys, Jelaine, our daughter, got that going. And it's proceeds from our sales of the store are going to go towards this too.
That's fantastic. So again, just Thursday, June 16th from 3 p.m. to 5:30 at the 700 Nicollet Mall for our Native Roots Trading Post.
Exactly. Hey, I just want to talk about the show here a little bit, but before I get too far ahead of myself, next week, Monday, we're going to have interviews with Rutherford Falls cast members and stars, and we're really excited. We pre-recorded those, and those are going to come out Monday and Thursday. And also, I just want to give a quick shout out, Wendy, to Alice. Congratulations on being cancer-free and being one of our most loyal fans. Yeah, definitely. And I just want to give her a shout out. And I wanted to do that a couple days ago. And I just want to tell you too, before we get to Ogama, the show today would be a little different. We usually have State Senator Mary Kunesh on, but today we're going to have Cathy Coats on, who did a thesis in 2017 and won an award for it in 2018, the extermination or removal by the Knights of the Forest and ethnic cleansing in early Minnesota. And it's basically about how they drove Ho-Chunk out of this state. And we've been here for thousands and thousands of years. So it'll be fun to talk to her. And then, of course, Wendy with her Fun Fridays Sacred Animal section. Yeah.
Can't wait.
Well, without any further ado, see how I speak French? Also, too, Stephanie, I want to say free Leonard Peltier right now. Joe Biden, I agree 100%. Let's go to Ogama with the news.
Hi, Anim Bonjour, everybody. I'm Ogama Ganuakwe. I am from the Red Lake Nation in northern Minnesota, and my name means strong golden eagle woman. I'm Anishinaabe. And Alice, thank you so much for the lovely gifts you sent for Anna and I earlier. Again, congratulations on being cancer-free. And we had a lot of prayers with you, and we appreciate your support here on Native Roots Radio. One of the first stories that I want to cover today is about Renee Vannette, who was a city council member in Duluth, Minnesota, and unfortunately, she lost her battle with cancer on June 3rd. However, she was a trailblazing. What did she say? She identified as a First Nations Indigenous single parent in the About Me section of her campaign website for Duluth City Council. She was in her second term serving for the city's 4th district, but had to enter campaign in May because of her disease, and she did eventually succumb to her disease. But Minnesota Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan from the White Earth Nation and Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota declared June 7th, which was the day of her funeral service, Renee Vannette Day in Minnesota. So we want to offer prayers to the family of Renee Vannette and to the community of Duluth that are missing her on their city council, as well as her tribal relations. And it's very sad, but I'm good to see that she's getting so much recognition. She really did do a lot of good work, and the world is going to miss her, at least in Minnesota for sure. I have other news too. Robert and Wendy, you were just talking about the Music for the Movement, which is next Thursday, the 16th, 3 to 5 p.m. at Native Roots Trading Post, where Owen Small is going to be doing some music. There's going to be fry bread. You can support water protectors who are either in jail or facing charges for them for standing up for the water in the Line 3 pipeline battle. But I also want to let people know that if you really want to help them, there is a tiny URL for Flood the Courts. Water protectors facing charges throughout Minnesota. If you want to catch up with one of them, go to one of their court hearings, support them, you can go to tinyurl.com/floodthecourts, and there's information there on how you can be helpful. You can sign up to help bring people to their court appointments. You can figure out ways that you can be helpful. And I believe there's a donate button on that webpage as well, which is really very, very helpful for those of you who wish to offer monetary support. Other events that are coming up for water protection include Communities United by Water, which is June 25th, 2022 at Bayview City Park in Ashland, Wisconsin, and that is to stop Line 5. And in Minnesota, there's going to be the Shell River reunions, which are June 17th and 19th to July 15th and 17th and August 26th and 28th. They will all be at the Shell City Campground at the Huntersville State Forest near Monaga, Minnesota. Those events are to reunite water protectors and to get the Shell River Alliance off the ground to protect the sacred water and the Shell River. Climate justice news. The U.S. Department of Justice is trying to oppose the children's climate case, which is Juliana versus the United States. This information came in from the Indigenous Environmental Network. They put up a Facebook post about this, and I did, you know, kind of hear about this earlier, and I know that I reported on this case before, but there are youth who are basically suing the federal government for damages done to them and their future because the government, the United States, is not doing enough against climate change. So 215 leading climate organizations launched a global petition in support of the 21 youth plaintiffs in this landmark constitutional climate justice case. You can support them by going to bit.ly/petition-DOJ for Department of Justice dash Juliana, and I will put that up on the screen for you all. Again, that's to support supporting the end of the opposition of the U.S. Department of Justice against the children's climate case, if that makes any sense. It's definitely Friday, isn't it, Robert?
Every day's Friday for me. Oh,
For sure. In Minnesota, in the Twin Cities at South High School, June 24th, there's going to be a Two-Spirit powwow. Jace Rowe gave us this information. It is Pride Month here in the United States. It's the month of June. More details are going to be announced, but they are asking if you can to bring a trade item of non-perishable food, gently used clothing, in order to receive a raffle ticket. It looks like this is funded by the Minnesota Humanities Center. And again, that's June 24th from 3 to 8 p.m. at 3131 19th Avenue, which is South High School in the Twin Cities, Minnesota. And kind of national news, I suppose, Robert, the Winnebago tribe of Nebraska had an interesting legal, or not legal, I should say, political change here. They had a vote this spring on the Winnebago Reservation, which appeared to ban the recognition of same-sex marriage. And it sparked a lot of anger in the LGBTQ community for the Winnebago tribe of Nebraska. It turns out that one of the leading people is the great nephew of Frank Lemire, who was the activist. His name is Tyler Lemire, and he's 17 years old. And when he saw a video of the meeting, which included some of the tribal members using anti-LGBTQ language or homophobic language, he took to TikTok, and there was a crazy amount of millions of views on TikTok. And the Winnebago tribe in Nebraska actually went back and decided to change their minds. They met again and changed their minds. A lot of tribal governments have not yet updated their tribal law to reflect the legalization of same-sex marriage or marriage equality in the United States. So they were able to do that. And I think that's pretty exciting.
yeah, that's a good way to end this weekend in the news. Rethinking a bad idea, possibly. I love it. You're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, Pinigigi Ogama for the news.
Stay with us.
We'll be right back with Cathy Coats. Hey, Wendy, what are we doing for dinner after the show?
How about we go to J. Selby's on 169 Victoria Street in St. Paul? They have a delicious plant-based menu that's compassionate and environmentally sustainable.
I'm getting their spot-on vegan Big Mac, the dirty secret.
You can pick up and they deliver within a 5-mile radius, or you can call them at 651-222-3263 or visit jselbys.com.
Well, you sold me, Wen. Let's go order at J. Selby's tonight.
I'm hungry.
Navigating COVID while protecting yourself can be difficult. Fortunately, there's a hotline you can call with any questions. The Department of Indian Work St. Paul partnered with the Minnesota Department of Health to open the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline. They provide information on vaccines, booster shots, and testing sites. Right now, booster shots are available to anyone over the age of 18 for those who are eligible. The Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline can also help with housing, food, medical, and educational support. If you or someone you know has questions about COVID-19, vaccinations, booster shots, or testing, please call 651-304-9986. Again, the number is 651-304-9986. The Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline is open for calls Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Call the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline at 651-304-9986. 9986.
Hey, Ogama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
This is Winona LaDuke of Honor the Earth, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio. I'm Awake.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is brought to you by MN350, a grassroots organization fighting for climate justice.
Hey, Wendy, we're super excited to have Cathy Coats on, who did a thesis. Help me. We knew I was going to mess up that word, right?
Thesis.
Thank you. In 2017, and it was called The Extermination or Removal, the Knights of the Forest and Ethnic Cleansing in Early Minnesota. And it really, being Ho-Chunk and really interested in our history, I reached out to her when I read this thesis. One in a row. Wow. And she's been really nice enough to come on and talk about it because it really has some very interesting Ho-Chunk information. And I know we have a lot of people in our listening to us in Madison and Milwaukee on our different sister stations and in Chicago. And we'll be interested to hear this. And I was talking to Catherine, and I talked to a lot of people too, that a lot of people that are maybe 40 and under do not understand or know this history. So I'm really excited to have her on and talk about this great paper that she did and all this great information she has on. So I wanted to say welcome and thank you so much for stopping into Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and you're on mute, I can see. So unmute yourself and welcome to, still on mute. Welcome to the show, Cathy. There you go.
Hi.
Hi,
thanks, Robert, for having me on.
Yeah, we're really excited because I think one of the things that I really want to know is the history of Minnesota and the removal, because I know our history is that there were no boundaries. And we've been in Minnesota and Illinois and Michigan and Iowa for thousands and thousands of years. So to read about possibly the precursor of the Ku Klux Klan, the Knights of the Forest, and the history about the Knights of the Forest and how they were really brought up to remove Ho-Chunk specifically. But I won't go any further. I'd like you to talk a little bit about why you did this thesis and also the information that's in there.
Sure. Well, I first heard about the Knights of the Forest in Winona LaDuke's book, Last Standing Woman. She had a quote from the Mankato newspaper at the time that sort of shocked me, that I'd never heard about as part of Minnesota history. I had learned about the U.S.-Dakota War, but this was part of it. The Ho-Chunk people and the Knights of the Forest was not anything that's usually discussed as part of that history. So when I was in graduate school getting my master's degree in public history, I was looking for a topic, and I just wanted to look more into, basically I started with the quote that Winona LaDuke put in her book, and I started there and started searching the internet and different archives for anything I could find. And I found out they were real people, and they were more than just rabble rousers. They really affected change in Mankato at the time, toward the removal of the Ho-Chunk people. They formed in January 1863, so right after the Mankato execution, right after the Dakota War. They were a secret society. They really were a hate group. They took an oath to advocate for the banishment of all Indigenous people from Minnesota, but they really focused on the Ho-Chunk people because that reservation was so close to Mankato. And the Ho-Chunk people hadn't participated in the war much, but they really just wanted their land. And even before the war, I mean, from the moment the Ho-Chunk people arrived in Blue Earth County, they were trying to have them removed. They had petitions and resolutions. They were always organizing and sending things to the government, asking to have them removed from Blue Earth County. So when the war happened, it was really just another excuse. But the Knights of the Forest, they were formed as part of this sort of secret society social web that white men had in the county at the time, or really all across America, sort of like the Ku Klux Klan. They were also Masons. They were Knights of Columbus. They were also politicians. It was really part of this social network, really. They all were in different groups together. They were parts of churches together. Like I said, a network. But
Right.
the reservation had comprised the majority of the prime farmland in Blue Earth County. And some of the Knights of the Forest owned property adjacent to the reservation. So they were very, very active in the removal effort right from the beginning. And so after the war started, they all were in militias and active in the war. And then after the execution, they were basically trying to find any way to get the government to force the Ho-Chunk out of Minnesota. So they did this secret society. They wanted to be mysterious, sort of. Charles Chapman, one of the men, he explicitly says they really just wanted to have an effect on the government and make the government think they were willing to massacre the Ho-Chunk. However, they did send men out to the reservation to lie around the reservation with guns pointed at them in case anybody left. The agent who was on the reservation at the time wrote to the government saying he was afraid that they would be massacred at any minute. So they were only in existence during the time that the Ho-Chunk were in Mankato, and the minute that they left, they just sort of disbanded because that was really their only reason for being there. One of the members, John Porter, the concentration camp where the Ho-Chunk people were held in Mankato for a few days while they waited for their steamboat to come pick them up, was named Camp Porter after one of the Knights of the Forest members. He was also a state legislature and really involved in all the politics of the town. So they were, unlike all the other removals, there were treaties where Ho-Chunk leaders were they were allowed to negotiate somewhat and at least speak on their behalf. Whereas when they were ordered out of Mankato, it was an act of Congress just to remove them. And soldiers went out and forced them off their land. So it was really different than some of the other removals in that way because they were not given a chance to speak on their behalf or any negotiations or anything to take place. They were just ordered to leave. But
yeah, it sounded like a done deal, and a lot of political people in the background, powerful people in that area already were planning this. And it sounds like the Knights of the Forest, there was a lot, as a secret society, there was a lot of movers and shakers down there that made these decisions. I know you talked a little bit on your thesis that there was out of the St. Cloud University, there was a time capsule with some names in there. Do I remember that right?
It was Mankato State University. Yep. Yeah. So there was a time capsule where they had a ritual document. It was so these secret societies, they often had worthy chancellors, and they would have these sort of rituals where they would make these oaths and just these names for the different officers in the group, and they would take minutes and so they printed off a ritual and an oath, and that document is still in Mankato State University. They put it in one of the Knights of the Forest, Sheldon Barney. He put it in there. He was there that day, so I think he's the one who put it there. And I've seen that document and looked at it myself, and it's something else. And I have it scanned, and it's available online along with my graduate thesis. So that document there is proof beyond just accounts in the newspaper that they did exist, and they had meetings. They had to have this printed at a printing press. And it really is it doesn't name the Ho-Chunk specifically in the document, but it's the newspaper accounts that Charles Chapman put in later years that really sort of tries to take credit for the removal of Ho-Chunk people. They had hand signs so they could recognize each other. If they would see each other in town or see somebody in town that they didn't know for sure was in the group, they would make a hand sign, and then they would be able to recognize each other as being part of that group. And this was similar to the Masons and other groups around the country.
Cathy, this is really interesting. You got time for another segment? This is really awesome, interesting.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions too.
Oh, right on. Wendy's got some questions. Cool. You're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and we're here with Cathy Coats talking about the removal of Ho-Chunk and her thesis. We'll be right back after this short break.
Stay with us.
We are your relatives.
We are your relations.
Brothers,
sisters,
sons,
daughters.
And some of us are your grandchildren.
We are your community. Historically, we held places of honor and respect. Because of the impact of colonization, some of us are rejected, thrown out from family, friends, and community, set up as targets for sexual violence, sex trafficked, humiliated, tortured, and murdered. Everybody has the right to be safe. We are your relatives. Remember,
homophobia is not traditional.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
J&S Bean Factory is a Native-owned, community-supported, cozy, artsy coffee shop which offers roasted on-site beans, live music, and baked goods. Relax in the beautiful outside patio. City Pages writes, voted top 10 coffee shops. Tucked into a quiet corner of St. Paul's Highland Park neighborhood, this coffee shop roasts beans on-site from the best coffee-growing countries in the world. Located at 1518 Randolph Avenue, St. Paul. The good stuff.
Hi, Minnesota. This is David Packman. You can hear my show every weekday at 2, right after Tom Hartman on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
It's an absolute must for any true foodie. Vinaigrette at 50th and Xerxes in South Minneapolis offers premium oils and vinegars for the most discriminating of tastes. This is Sarah Piepenberg, owner of Vinaigrette. We bottle on-site, there's no guesswork, and you get to taste test each and every oil and vinegar we offer. Our direct relationship with the growers ensures an uncompromised level of satisfaction. When you need to know you're cooking with the finest ingredients, first contact the independently owned Vinaigrette, 50th and Xerxes in South Minneapolis. Online at vinaigrettemn.com.
Turn to Auto Technical with your vehicle donation. Even though Auto Technical is a small nonprofit, we have helped more families with transportation than any organization in Minnesota. Since '94, we have reconditioned donated vehicles so they have a higher tax benefit. Call Richard at 612-919-5526, 612-919-5526, or autotech.org.
Seward Co-op is now offering convenient self-serve and prepackaged hot options and salad bars at both the Franklin and Friendship stores. Breakfast items available daily until 11 a.m. and brunch served all day every Sunday. Their weekly lunch and dinner menus highlight cuisines from around the world. They offer vegan, vegetarian, and gluten-free options daily. 95% of the ingredients used are organic from small-scale, local community food producers whenever possible. More at seward.coop.
As the weather warms up, now is the perfect time to prepare for summer reading, and Next Chapter booksellers can help. Not sure what to get? The friendly staff at Next Chapter booksellers are great at making recommendations to find books that fit your taste. Next Chapter booksellers also hosts many book readings and meet and greets with authors, and they sell a wide variety of puzzles and games too. So stop by the store off Snelling and Grand in St. Paul or place an order online at nextchapterbooksellers.com.
Hey, Kurt, check out this website for AM 950.
We don't have time for that, Pat. We got to promote the Up North podcast Saturday nights at 9.
But look at all these great shows. The webpage looks like a bingo card of talk that's smart, funny, and engaging.
And now they're adding the Up North podcast Saturday nights at 9.
Well, we do fit in nicely. You on Lake Minocqua, me on Lake Wissota. Just some Midwestern common sense and a little subversiveness.
The Up North podcast Saturday nights at 9 on AM 950.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for cloudy skies tonight with a low around 63. Saturday, a chance for showers and storms with a high near 78. And Sunday, partly cloudy with a high near 80. The Great Wall Restaurant in Edina provides an extensive Chinese menu with an emphasis on Szechuan and Peking cuisine. Some of the favorites include the sesame chicken, cream cheese wonton, and Szechuan duck with walnuts. Located just north of 50th and France on the Edina-Minneapolis border, dine in or order takeout at greatwalledina.com.
Bonjour, I am Oshawashko Gijig. I'm from Red Lake Nation, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake.
This portion of the show is brought to you by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Wow, we got Cathy Coats on here from she did a thesis in 2017 and won an award in 2018 about the removal, extermination, or removal of the Knights of the Forest and ethnic cleansing in the early Minnesota. And we're talking specifically about the Ho-Chunk, which the tribe is what I'm from. And Wendy has a couple questions, and so take it away, Wendy.
Yeah, you might have answered some of them, but how many Ho-Chunk approximately were there that were removed? Were there any idea of the numbers?
I think it was, I want to say 2,000. It was 2,000 who arrived. It might have been reduced to 1,700 or 1,500 by the time they were removed. Over the winter, I know the Ho-Chunk historian Amy Lonetree estimates over 500 Ho-Chunk died over that winter after the removal because of the conditions in Crow Creek, South Dakota, combined with not really having anything there when they arrived.
That's really sad. So they had no supplies or food or probably really good shelter to...
Or no Chipotecays to live in or teepees or whatever they were living in back then. Yeah. You had another question, don't you?
Like, where did they all disperse? Did they go to all different places or did they all go to one area? Was it...
Well, it's hard. According to Ho-Chunk historians like Amy Lonetree and others, it sounds like they went to Omaha, some of them. Some came back to Minnesota even, or stayed in Minnesota. And throughout all the years, I mean, Robert probably knows this, they went back to Wisconsin, and it just seems like that was the home area, Black River Falls and those areas around there. They were always being removed from Wisconsin up until even in 1870 something, there was a final roundup effort by the U.S. military where they forced Ho-Chunk people on boxcar trains at gunpoint to take them to Omaha because they refused to leave Wisconsin. And the white colonist settlers nearby were always writing to the agents and the governors and the governments, asking them to please come back to Wisconsin and take the Ho-Chunk people to wherever the reservation was. Even the agent in Blue Earth County, I read letters from people living in Wisconsin who were asking him to come and get Ho-Chunk people in Wisconsin and force them to live in Minnesota. So it never ended.
Right, exactly. It's great for me to hear this history. One of the reasons too why I reached out to you, and I did ask you this question point blank, because I think it's important that people know that Ho-Chunk lived here and still live here, and we have land down in Blue Earth too, and that we should be the 12th tribe recognized in this state. What is your comment on that?
I think that as you guys had reservations here. I think that as a white Minnesotan, it's really hard for me to say my opinion on this, but it does seem like you guys had a reservation here. You guys lived a lot of different places in Minnesota. You're still here. Being recognized by the state has all kinds of implications that are really important. If you look, the U of M is offering free tuition to the 11 recognized tribes now. So
In Augsburg College too.
right, yep. So it's hard for me. Like I said, as a white person, I try to stay out of it, but I can see the case that you're making, and I think you have a really strong argument and a strong case for it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I do, and it's really. I don't want to use the word exciting, but it's also, I love history. Like when Wendy knows I love history. So to read this thesis and the important information that you have. And what's great about a thesis is that you have cited all your work, and so it isn't your opinion. It's where you got this information that you had to be a detective to find. So that just really, I don't know, is really exciting for me to look at. And I do have the link here I can put up too of your thesis on St. Cloud State.
Yeah. How did this spark in your mind to do a thesis on this particular subject? What got you interested in Native American history?
Well, like I said, I had read about it in Winona LaDuke's book, and I'm a fifth generation Minnesotan myself, and I was really sort of surprised I hadn't heard of this history. I know a lot of Minnesotans like to think that during the Civil War, we were on the good side, because we weren't for slavery. We weren't part of the South. But there's a lot of complicated history during the Civil War in Minnesota because of the U.S.-Dakota War and the things that happened in Mankato with Ho-Chunk people, even before really the Dakota War. That, as a Minnesotan, I was surprised about it, and really surprised that it hadn't been researched or discussed by other historians. And so when I went into history, it was something I wanted to look into more. And I'm also interested in social justice and things like that. So it went hand in hand with my interest in Minnesota history. And I'm finding that Ho-Chunk really do need to be told much more in Minnesota history than they are. They're present everywhere in the record, and but not so much in the stories that you hear. So I hope there's more out there. There's more work on Ho-Chunk in Minnesota after me, besides my work.
Well, and it's inspired me too, because I am talking to a lot of political people, and it was really great. Somebody sent me your thesis, so and I read it and I reached out to you. What's next for you, Cathy? What do you plan on doing with this information, or do you have a plan B?
So the Minnesota Historical Society Press had reached out to me, and I am under contract to turn this thesis into a book right now. I'm working very hard on writing and improving some of the things I didn't know to do as a student and wasn't able to do as a student. I know the Historical Society, there are people there who are looking for ways to bring the Ho-Chunk into the history of Minnesota more. This is one of those ways. I know there will be more efforts for that. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's excellent. And it inspired me too to go down and talk to the people, and they gave me a great tour last Friday at the Minnesota History Society, and they were really excited that I was spiking this interest about Ho-Chunk in Minnesota, and they have all this artifacts, pictures, and things like that, and writings down at the Minnesota History Center. So I'm really excited for my journey, and it sounds like your journey too, to write a book about some social justice, as you said.
Right. Yes. I'm still working on, revising parts of it and getting it ready for publication in the next year or two. And if there's any Ho-Chunk people listening who want to talk to me or reach out to me in any way, please do contact me, Cathy Coats. You can find me on Facebook or my email, cmcoats511@gmail.com. I'm working really hard to present this history the best that I can.
Well, I appreciate you coming on, and I'd really, really like to have you come on again when you get closer to your book. And I'm excited, and as a Ho-Chunk government official, I'm really excited that we have so many great allies like yourself out there helping us with our story, and open to our Ho-Chunk people to talk to you about our story. So I really appreciate you coming on today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thanks, Cathy. I appreciate it. Wow, Wendy and Ogama, it just amazing that these things are out there, and we talk about history and things like that. We only want to teach white history, and it's been happening anyways.
Exactly. And then the name of the group who were trying to get the Ho-Chunk out, could you tell me that one more
time? The Knights of the Forest.
The Knights of the Forest. It sounds like such a nice, peaceful name, and that name has such bad connotation to it because of what they did. But I guess they didn't want to be called something bad. But yeah.
Well, it kind of scares me when you hear anybody in the 1800s wanting to be called a knight. So it's like thinking of the Crusades and all those things. I don't know, but yeah, secret societies, and I just think it's great I love history, so it was just great to have her on, and I can't wait to have her on when she gets closer to her book, and I'm excited about that. And see, Ogama, I know you're under 40, so you learned something today, right?
I absolutely did. That's what I was going to say. Is I had no idea about the Knights of the Forest, or how deep that removal went. I know that the Ho-Chunk people were removed from Minnesota, Robert, because you've reminded me of that, and you taught me that. But to hear about how deep this history goes is it's just absolutely insane.
Yeah, and it's great. It sounds like she's writing a book and reaching out, and she has a few people that know Ho-Chunk history, so our voice will be out there too.
And I'm sure there's so many other stories out there with other names of colonizers getting rid of other nations and other tribes. It's really, we got to dig deep and find out all of the history.
Yeah, and it's great to have a guest like her, because we give out information here. We talk about things that I know nothing about, but we bring in the experts, and it was great to have Cathy on as an expert. One of the experts, and definitely about the removal of Ho-Chunk from Minnesota.
Yeah, excellent.
Wow. All right. Hey, up next, Wendy, we're going to be doing
Fun Fact Friday with the Sacred Animal section here on Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake.
Perfect. All right. We'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us, Wendy.
Stay with us. Hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN 350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN 350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States, and 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected. Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf. Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy. As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired. Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
Navigating COVID while protecting yourself can be difficult. Fortunately, there's a hotline you can call with any questions. The Department of Indian Work St. Paul partnered with the Minnesota Department of Health to open the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline. They provide information on vaccines, booster shots, and testing sites. Right now, booster shots are available to anyone over the age of 18 for those who are eligible. The Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline can also help with housing, food, medical, and educational support. If you or someone you know has questions about COVID-19, vaccinations, booster shots, or testing, please call 651-304-9986. Again, the number is 651-304-9986. The Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline is open for calls Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Call the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline at 651-304-9986.
Hi, I'm Jane Fonda, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is brought to you by Howling for Wolves, protecting wolves for future generations.
Shoot. Why do I there's a couple things. Anna's intro.
I love that. It's my favorite.
And Dallas Goldtooth's intro makes me laugh every time.
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
know. And this I get to howl and wow. All right. Hey, Wendy, take it over.
Yeah. It's Friday, everybody. I have some fun animal facts here. Hello, everyone. My name is Hanaji Hihani. That means cares for them. I was given that name by my Dega Curtis. Curtis goes by Mashke Hanajinga, which means walks on white clouds. I'm a humane policy volunteer leader for the Humane Society of the United States, and I work on animal issues at the local and state level. And today I have some fun facts. So we're going to start off with feral cats. And, you know, a lot of neighborhoods have feral cat colonies. So if you see these cats that have the tip of their ear clipped off, so, yeah, you'll see. So these cats have been ear tipped or notched. This is a surgical alteration showing that the free living cat has been spayed or neutered, and it's part of a TNR, which means trap, neuter, and return. Yeah, these cats should never be retrapped or brought into a shelter unless they're sick. Instead, they should be left in their neighborhood to provide cat population control. Studies have shown by them just being there, they prevent other cats from moving into the area. And because they have been fixed, they will never have a litter of kittens. Even if you don't like cats, TNR, which again is the trap, neuter, and return, ear-tipped cats have an important job to do in keeping your neighborhood nice place to live. And this is from
Look at that
Pride
face of that
Rescue Petfinder.org. Yeah, so yes, so I have seen many cats with these little tipped cat, you know, their little tip of the ear is just snipped right off.
Look
so
at
they have
his
a little,
face.
I know, it is a cute cat, isn't it? I know. It's really sad. A lot of cats are feral. You know, when they were born, they were just never introduced to humans, so they never got acclimated. And it's very hard to acclimate a feral cat, although it can be done if they're young enough. I know people who have done it. And they just live in a colony, so they need to be helped with their shelter, and they need to be helped with water and food and all that kind of stuff. But they could just live in colonies. Today I'm going to a little bit of everything today. It's going to be a plethora of animal news. We have the 5-second rule before you take your dog for a walk in the summer. Do you know what the 5-second rule is? Tell me, Robert.
I listen to the show. You put your hand down on the tar or concrete or even the sand or the grass and make sure it doesn't burn your hand in 5 seconds.
That's right. So
Yes.
before walking your dog, place the back of your hand, because the back of your hand is more sensitive than the palm of your hand, on the asphalt or cement. If you can't hold it there for 5 seconds, it's too hot to take your dog for a walk.
And they're such low riders too, especially ours are only like 4 inches off the ground. So it's not even on their paws, but on their tummy.
Yes, because if it's a hot day, especially the blacktop stays really, really hot. So we'll try to get them off that and get them on the concrete or grass.
Well, concrete really absorbs heat too. I mean, we
Mhm.
walk by brick walls and it's still hot days after.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
I guess they don't walk on brick walls, but
Exactly right. I know. Yeah. The next thing I have up is about turtles. So turtles are not inside their shells. They are their shells. A tortoise or turtle shell contains nerve that connect to its central nervous system, so they can feel pain and pleasure when their shells are touched, stroked, knocked, dropped, or injured. Yes, contrary. Is that it?
Yeah.
Contrary to what many people believe, the shell is an inseparable part of the anatomy, forming part of the skeletal structure. The ribs and spine are fused inside the shell and contain nerves connected to the nervous system. So the takeaway here is be gentle with your tortoise, and give their shell a stroke. They will probably like it. So if you pet their shell, they could feel that actually.
Is this kind of grossing me out, Ogama? Maybe take that picture down. That's crazy.
Yeah, but that's a
You
picture
know,
of the anatomy of
I
the
actually
turtle.
knew this. My
Really?
daughter's kindergarten class had a pet tortoise, and they used to pet him all the time, and it made his little tortoise self happy.
Yeah, I've seen them like wiggle back and forth while people are petting them. It's really kind of funny, right?
Well, it makes me think there was a really, before I knew any better, back in St. Paul, there was a tortoise, a famous tortoise that was alive for 150 years that as a children we rode. And it was crazy. And he felt all that. So that's kind of weird to think, but yeah, wow.
Yeah, exactly. I have a post here from Save Coyotes. That's the post who put this up. But little baby deer, we talked about the little baby deer, like sometimes people find them while they're walking on a path next to, could be Bambi.
Yeah.
So people that call rehabs and they're concerned whether or not they should bring in a found fawn, if they have their ears crumpled, their ears are crumpled back. That means that they're dehydrated and that they need help. If their ears are just straight and normal and they're just laying there, you just leave the fawn there, because the mother put the fawn there. The fawn's going to wait. The mom's going to go out and do her thing and come back.
And
But
hopefully not get shot.
exactly. But if the deer's, the baby deer, the fawn's ears are crumpled or turned backwards at the tips, that means that the poor little thing is dehydrated and the mom is gone and the baby needs help. So if you're ever in question about whether or not you need to help the baby, this is the answer. If you find one of these crumpled ears, get that baby help. We always advise, if you get the fawn and can't get it to a rehabilitation facility right away, never feed the fawn anything but unflavored Pedialyte. So you could use unflavored Pedialyte.
We did that for our squirrels.
The baby squirrels. Yeah, we found them in the backyard. Yeah.
Parents didn't want them anymore.
Right. We waited too. It was sad. They cried out there for hours waiting for the mother squirrel to come, but the mother squirrel never came. So then we just said,
dark all of a sudden.
But anyway, we got them. I picked them up and
With a glove.
with a glove, and I fed them unflavored Pedialyte.
Yeah.
And we brought them to the rehabilitation center the next day. But a lot of people in rehabilitation and wildlife would even say, don't do that. But this is, from the horse's mouth. Okay, so I have a picture here. Those of you who are not watching us on Facebook, I'm going to do my very best to describe this. A drop of water on a tea leaf. 12 ants have gathered to drink. What's amazing is that the ants have divided themselves into 4 groups. This is to maintain the balance of the water drop from tilting and then falling to the ground. It is a science of ants to cooperate and divide the share of water equally among them and give everyone his share of the water. So ants work very well in their colonies and are very smart animals.
Speaking of smart, thank you, Wendy. As always, these sacred animals and Fun Fact Fridays are get me through the weekend here. So
yeah, I love Fun Fact Fridays because I love Fridays.
Exactly. Hey, I would like to thank Cathy Coats for being on and talking about the ho-chunk removal of here in Minnesota. Wendy with your sacred animal section, and Ogama with the news. So we are the 7th generation. I just want to say, if you are running, you should run, you should resist, you should divest, you should join a group. You're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. And again, we're the 7th generation. We're still here.
Free Leonard Peltier. Stop line 3 and line 5.
And get vaccinated too. Get that boost going.
Yes.
Because I don't want to be hanging out with you
late.
and you got COVID and giving it to me. And I haven't gotten it yet, so I feel blessed. But I know people here that I'm looking at that have had it. So it's just a matter of time. Hey, we'll see you next week. We got Rutherford Falls on Monday. So I'm really jammed to share that with everyone. Have a good weekend, everybody.
Don't be surprised if you hear your name when you walk into St. Paul Corner Drug. Our experienced staff make getting to know you their top priority.